Agamatsu strikes again, man. Week 2 of him being on the dev team. Second update he's ever worked on. And me personally, I think the rookie's 2 for 2. Flawless record so far. Yeah, I know this update was delayed like crazy, but we've got a whole new race dropping soon. So I'm guessing that chewed up a chunk of the dev time alongside pretty hard things to code like the new bestiary system. And I mean, yeah, there were some few questionable choices. Blood Fowler being the main big fumble for sure. But overall, the rest of the patch was very, very solid. I mean, just compare it to the updates we were getting before Aga joined the dev team. And, dude, it's not even close. Unfortunately, the people do not agree with me, and they think this update is a little bit more on the bad side. So, you know, I didn't want to do this, but I gotta step in now and defend the update a little bit. Anyways, y'all already know what I'm trying to do. Let's hop into the Deepwoken general and see what people are saying about the update. First, R_OAM asks, chat, are the updates getting better or nah? With 5 X's underneath the message, not a single checkmark in sight, bro. I know I kind of went over this in the intro, but dude, do I even have to say anything to back this up, man? The Aga updates are tough. I don't understand why y'all are hating. We're getting so much more than we were getting a month, even 2 months ago. I mean, the updates are definitely improving. Next up, Big Man Sing 4432 says, holy buns update, man. How can you remove DVM? And I saw a lot of takes similar to this in the general chat, similar to this guy. And I think some people are just missing the bigger picture. DVM isn't gone. It's just been spread out across multiple different systems. You've got the 20% health nerf to mobs, or at least some of the mobs, you know? 30% DVM from Bestiary when it's maxed out. You've got the Echoes, that's like 8% DVM. Diver's Ring, Pathfinder Elite, other talents, Drowned. You know, there's a lot of things that go into DVM. And yeah, it's less total DVM than we had before. I checked my own fully min-maxed kit pre-update, and it was way, way higher. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was at least minimum 10 DVM higher than what we have right now. But that took like 50 to 60 needles just to max out that one kit. A newer player isn't grinding like that. This change actually makes PvE a little bit more accessible so newer players can hop in and still do decent damage without having to sell their soul to grind DVM or monster armor hits. 0002 Icy says, worst update of all time, max damage to bosses is 15%. Once again, probably just misunderstanding the patch, but he does have a very, very valid point that I wanted to talk about. I don't really get why some bosses are capped at 15% and others at 30%. It feels like really inconsistent. If anyone knows why they did that, drop it in the comments. Maybe there's like some damage values I don't really understand. But personally, I think they should have just made them all 30%. A 15% cap feels like way, way too hard of a nerf, especially when PvE players already took a hit from the DVM changes and the removal of them. So it only feels fair to keep everything at one static value of 30% because only 15% DVM would be way, 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 way too little. Alright, so I actually saw a pretty long message from the big dog Angel, and thankfully they dropped a TLDR for us. Separating PvE and PvP is a bad idea. Players should choose how they want to play. PvE players don't harm PvP balance, and PvP builds already have the upper hand due to stat specialization. Giving everyone DVM won't suddenly fix player retention. And honestly, I agree with most of this. I read the rest of the message that he sent before, and I do have some few things to point out. Separating PvP and PvE is a bad idea. That is a fact. But that separation has been reduced significantly with this update. PvE and PvP builds each have their upper hand in different parts of the game. Like for example, do you really think I'm gonna go hop on a gank slot, pop into an enmity boss, and assassinate him? No, bro. I made my build to have the upper hand against other players by specifically going for assassinations. And you, for example, made your PvE build to have the upper hand against monsters with specific mantras, armor, equipment, etc, etc. If you think that you're going to be able to have a one build beats all type of situation as a PvE, not even as a PvE, but having a one build beats all is just unrealistic in Deepwoken. It defeats the whole purpose of diversity in the game, and you just have to recognize that. That's why I actually think the update helped reduce the separation between PvE and PvP instead of increasing it. Removing DVM as a pip was about putting PvE builds on a more level playing field, so they're not instantly wiped the second they get forced into a fight by said depth ganker or anything of that sort. It's just a way to make things more fair. But also, there's a little bit of contradiction in what they're saying. I mean, they say that separation is bad, but then they say that people should be able to choose whether or not they want to fight, or just play the game doing challenges, which in turn encourages separation. I don't know if I'm reading it wrong, or maybe he misworded something, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure he's saying that PvE and PvP should be separated more than they are right now, which removes a lot of what Deepwoken has to offer. That's just what I'm reading from this, but his true intentions could be much different, so keep that in mind. If players can opt out of PvP entirely, you're literally just separating the game into two parallel universes. And if those groups don't interact, what's the point of calling Deepwoken an open world multiplayer game? It would be much better off just being split off into two different games, one being PvP and one being PvE. But the goal, obviously, is to keep those two combined and to have them work with each other. And for their last point, I completely agree. Giving everyone DVM alone isn't fixing player retention, but it's also just part of a bigger effort to make both playstyles more viable in the future. Letting people play how they want without feeling punished for it is a key change, and through the removal of DVM pips, PvE players are punished way less than before. Hopefully, people start to understand more about the update logs in the future, but honestly, it's also on whoever's posting them because some of it is worded pretty bad. I was honestly confused myself reading it the first time, so yeah, hopefully they do something about that in the future. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed the video, so drop a like and sub if y'all liked it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace!